This is eCoffee with Experts, where marketers and founders share what's actually working in SEO, AI, and digital growth. Grab your coffee and fuel your mind as we chat with top minds about their wins, struggles, and lessons you won't find in a blog post. Brought to you by Digital Web Solutions, we bring real talk to help you grow your business, one episode at a time. Let's get started.
I've had almost a decade, well, over a decade of experience in SEO, but you started, you mentioned like on the black hat side of things. I would imagine
Yeah.
that link building is a part of your strategy now, only white hat.
Yeah, so I'll explain. Not really. So we are not directly doing link building because we are focusing on franchise and enterprise level clients, and working with them. They have their own PR teams, and basically they are well-known, established websites that Google really knows well, high authority. And they're constantly getting new links just by standard PR and whatever they're doing. And we were doing for a long time, and we have collaborations with certain PR outlets. We're not doing any link building ourselves, but we have good relationships with some agencies. And we figured out that we're kind of getting in the way sometimes with the PR, because we're kind of pitching to the websites, and the PR team said, but we already have a relationship with them. We have a different route. So we figured out, okay, so we are not helping overall, focusing efforts on pages we're really building for SEO. We were focusing links there. And there was a Google leak, I think it's already 2 years ago. And there were strong suggestions there that the type of link building that SEOs mostly do is becoming less and less effective. So we did a test, like, let's stop link building for the next 3 months. Let's focus our efforts elsewhere, scale something else, and see what happens. And I can tell you that we didn't even feel it. But again, this is very specific case. These are franchise businesses. These are huge websites. I wouldn't buy this for a website that is breaking out, trying to kind of increase their domain rating and so on. But I can tell you for huge websites, sometimes just naturally they're getting thousands of links, and you just have to focus on something else. You don't have to be in the way.
Yeah, no, that's good. And it's good that you mentioned that your primary clientele are the franchisors. So these are the actual corporate companies that then, gives the licensing rights out to other people to run their own business. So, in the US, it might be like the first one that comes to mind is like a McDonald's is probably one, the biggest franchise, or a Walmart or something like that. Obviously, if you go to walmart.com, it's not going to be like Walmart, phoenixarizona.com. It's going to be the actual one. So I'm curious, based on your experience in the past, when we first got into SEO, was it always in franchisors, or did you start with like small, medium-sized businesses that you were doing SEO for?
I worked with a lot of local businesses, all kinds of businesses, basically. I worked on agency side, so I had, I think, over 120 clients so far. So it's a long list of websites of all sizes. But I mostly enjoyed like big, huge websites because there's a lot of work there. There's a lot of unused potential. And franchise was really interesting because we found that a lot of franchises make the same mistakes as they scale up, and they rarely fix it. And then they employ agencies that kind of struggle to keep the same structure, but they struggle to get results. And I can explain like briefly what it is. If you start a franchise, so you start opening locations in different cities, right? And the problem comes when the franchise is at a certain size that individual franchisees start fighting between each other. And then corporates, fighting in terms of rankings, who will come up. So you have a Houston area, and imagine you have 5 locations there. And then they're all kind of fighting between each other to get for the main keyword, like Houston, whatever, like Houston fast food. And then corporate, we call it that corporate, the franchise side needs to step in and provide a fair playing ground for all of them, right? So the main thing to do there is to decide, okay, what are the territories? What is the metro area? Where does corporate take over? Where do they kind of rank with their own? So the main thing we discovered is that, it's nothing new, but you need to have a good structure, like state level, city level, and then under the city level, you have individual locations. So the city level, what you call metro level, is really important page because that funnels traffic to all of the individual locations. And then you can have a really robust structure where you have a well-optimized SEO pages that are driving traffic to all of the centers. And if some new center is coming in, they have a fair place where they can get customers. They don't have to fight between other centers. They have a fair playing ground. And if they go hyper local, then individual centers are ranking. So if somebody's searching near me on the maps, they'll get individual center. But if they're searching like, okay, I want all of the locations for hairdressing salons in Houston, then you have a corporate page that is kind of funneling traffic to all of these individual pages. So that's kind of in short what we noticed. A lot of businesses scale up too fast, and then they don't have a good structure and good kind of playing ground where they can interact in a fair way. And that's where we step in to help them with that.
Interesting. So obviously you bring the sort of development plan along with the just keen marketing and SEO strategy. Do you
Yes.
find that, because our audience, I'm sure there are some franchise, marketing agencies out there. A lot of them deal with the mid-market or SMBs. I'm curious how much of this strategy, when you start to work with a franchise client, how much of that do they already have planned out? I mean, is it like they've never even thought of this issue? Or do they have like a general sense of like, okay, I know we're going to have different sites or at least different, slugs for all 50 states, but that's about it.
Yeah. So some of them start developing this action, but they don't really understand the value of that page. So it's really like well done, interlinked with all of the locations. So interlink is really important. So it's missing a lot of crucial elements. And usually it isn't scaled up properly. It's just in one or two locations. It doesn't have like a logical structure and everything that would help Google understand the kind of relationship between these pages, individual centers and everything else. So that's the main thing. And I think what helps, and I didn't see this being used. I mean, in this business, it's really important. Something else, maybe not. But using like custom maps to map out all of the locations you have, and then discover opportunities that you might have not noticed if you were just doing standard keyword research, focusing on local keywords. Because when you have, for example, over 1,000 locations and you layer them on the map, you can notice patterns, areas that they're kind of we have more density, and you can notice like one interesting thing in for example hotels section. We have a good a big client for in the hotel space is point of interest pages. So this is something that TripAdvisor figured out a long time ago. So they have an easy way of solving this because they list all of the hotels so they can cover all of the points of interest throughout the time. But when you have a client that is a franchise, you need to layer everything on the map and figure out where are the relevant points of interest, where you want to build pages around that and say hotels near specific point of interest. So that's a really good approach to help you, because without the map, it's really hard to figure out like, okay, you know the address, I know the local keywords, but it's hard we are visual beings. So we need something to look at to figure out the patterns.
Yeah. And you're talking, okay, so take me on to like the sitemap level, right? We're talking about building out different pages. Are you using, I mean, is it like XML or is it like a, Webflow, or I guess how are you building out pages? And is website design actually part of what you guys do?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That it all kind of plays in together. So we need to have how to best explain like how we approach it. Like first fix the mothership, like the main site that should kind of serve everyone else. So we usually start our engagement with these kind of big websites. Let's fix the main site, the homepage and the main landing pages, and kind of plug the barrels. We're not leaking everywhere. We focus on everything that is right. And then focus on local level. So we build those pages, we figure out the plan, and then we talk about the page layout, page design, what needs to be on that page, what type of content. And for this type of businesses where you have a lot of location pages, the main mistake I see people make are they don't differentiate the content too much. So they have like one section that is kind of they have like variants in text, but it's just not enough. And what we do is like create a questionnaire and send out to every franchisee to fill out like what is your local area, where your customers are coming from, because you can get a lot of insights from people in the field. Like they understand like where the people are coming from. Are they going into specific, like from a specific, are they employed in a specific place? Are they visiting a certain mall that is nearby and then coming to them? So all of those informations are really important to include on that page, to differentiate those pages between themselves.
Yeah.
And Google, I mean, in SEO, this was like programmatic SEO is problematic because it's usually like create thousands of pages with very little effort to differentiate them. And Google doesn't really like that. It's just like to them, it's like all of the same pages. You're just trying to rank everywhere. They don't like it. But
Yeah.
if you do the thing right and just show effort and really provide localized content, then you actually get rewarded.
Localized content, yeah. So content is a big part of the conversation now. And it's like the experience of your client, the personal, I mean, everything in EEAT, it just has to be more specific now and more detailed in order to be
Yes.
considered valuable by Google, because like the generalities AI can duplicate. So you mentioned a survey to the franchisee owners to talk about their local area. How often are you communicating with them via surveys or phone calls, or like what does it look like? I'm asking, what's the seed source to create new content for the local
Yeah. So
pages?
we like as I mentioned, like we first tackle like the corporate level, then we kind of create a good landscape for all the franchisees, and we offer
Mhm,
maintenance for like a local SEO package for whichever franchisee wants to join, so they
mm,
can get their Google Business Profile fixed, all the citations, everything that comes under that, and then we have maintenance and we talk with them, we have calls, and we get a lot of insights that way, and that's invaluable. You cannot get that through any type of research. It's just like they
mm,
talk to people, they know who is coming in, what they're searching for, how they're behaving, what's the like the ethnicity of the people, what's the all kinds of information we get. Sometimes we get information that is not valuable, of course, but we try to kind of take notes. That's where AI is very, really useful. You can get like a transcript of the whole phone call, extract what is really
mm,
important for the strategy, and then you have a lot of insights to act upon.
mm. Yeah, I love that. I mean, obviously using LLMs for research is one of the main things that I hear marketers talking about, because
Yes,
yeah, like the content thing is pretty iffy. It's better just to have, a lot of the times, just to have a human write it, because it brings out all
yes.
the EEAT. Tell me about, I asked you before we started recording, what do you spend most of your time and energy thinking about these days? And you were talking about where SEO and where your role and where the industry is heading. I'm curious, what's kind of like, maybe if you haven't seen a clear pattern yet, but maybe there's like a hint of a pattern
Mhm.
that you're starting to notice, but maybe you haven't heard talked about a lot.
Yeah. Well, like there are some clear patterns in like since last year. So first of
Mhm,
all, like fewer traffic from Google. Like Google is moving in a really obvious direction.
mhm,
The lower amount of organic they have, like the more ads they can sell, so we can see more aggressive ads,
right.
fewer organic clicks, more answers in the results. And last year we have this like zero clicks search, and we had to change all of our KPIs and explain to all of our clients, look, we are going to get fewer traffic but more conversions.
Yeah.
And that was true initially, especially for AI traffic. So the AI traffic converted really well, started increasing. Then it kind of plateaued, and I think now it's even in decline. That's an interesting
Mm,
trend that I'm noticing. So I know that in general people are still using a lot of like AI for research, but we noticed for these
mhm,
big websites that first of all it's not converting as it used to, because people are finding ways to kind of hack the AI. All of the tactics for black hats that were used for Google spent millions to kind of figure out all of those things, put a stop to it. And then all of those tactics in the beginning were used on AI and trying to kind of game the system. So I notice even in my own research, sometimes I get recommendations for products or something that are not really aligned with what I expected.
mhm,
So definitely there are problems with AI. Initially, it was like a huge like gold rush. I think
mhm.
it's subsiding, and I think
Yeah.
that Google, generally, if we were to talk about like a battle between AI, OpenAI and Google, in terms of like
Mhm.
people were claiming like all of the traffic from Google will subside, people use ChatGPT. I think now Google kind of won, because I
Yeah.
see ChatGPT going in a totally different direction, and I think Google is definitely here to stay. And they understand the value of organic traffic. That's really important. I'm glad that Google won in a sense, because Google understands that without us SEO experts and
Mhm.
marketers, without people producing content, they don't have anything. But AI tools were just here to kind of scrape everything and give it to the people without any relationship really to the organic side of things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I see. Like I see in future, Google maybe toning down they really reduced organic pretty much. I've been following in the last 5 years, traffic has subsided significantly, and the clicks and click through rates, I think in some way they'll find a balance to keep the industry going, because if it stops, it will be a big problem for them.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, SEO as an industry came because of Google. It's like built on the foundation of, of PageRank and the algorithms. I'm curious then how you see the role of SEO, like SEO practitioners, SEO leaders. How do you see that role evolving in the future, knowing that LLMs are right now, they're kind of, you didn't say it, but I'm putting words in your mouth. LLMs are kind of parasitic where they just, they don't,
Hmm.
yes, they create things, but they don't really have their own original thoughts. They just scrape everything and then repurpose
Yeah.
it. So in terms of SEO, if we're responsible now for creating new, fresh, valuable content, but we're seeing Google shift toward the ad space and it's just getting harder and harder to rank because there's now like 15 things on the first page
Hmm.
and not just 10 blue links. How do you see the role of SEOs shifting in the next couple years?
Well, I mean, already, if you're just focused on SEO, I don't think you'll have much success. Like focusing really on
Mm,
user experience, topic research. I mean, before, how we used to do topic research, like you have the main keyword, that's the focus, figure out the search intent, write about. Now you have to create a lot. It's kind of ironic because you get fewer traffic, but you actually need to create more content to satisfy all of the different long tail searches, because it's moving in the direction of long tail search more now than shorter search, because you want to describe exactly what you want to get the right answer. Before,
mm,
people used to search like shorter, just the shortest amount of words to use. And then
mm,
you have to create a lot of well thought out content with well researched. And what is really important is novelty in the content. So that's something that Google looks into it, AI looks. So if you write a content piece of content that is just regurgitating what you find online, it won't
mhm.
really have any success. You have to have like either a unique angle or authoritative person as an author behind it, or
Yeah.
novelty of information to provide something new, actually to get rewarded to be ranked somewhere. So that's the hardest thing. Like you have to kind of break out from classic SEO thinking, just
Mhm.
looking at keywords. You need to think about like how are you going to create value and be rewarded with traffic, and how to keep that later on.
So Google acquired YouTube a couple years ago, and I'm wondering, and maybe if this is out of your purview, we can move on to something else. But I'm curious how we're talking about experts, we're talking about valuable content. How does video play in, and then how does personal branding play in? Maybe it's not so important on the franchise level. I would hardly imagine Sam Walton of Walmart, if he were still alive, producing personal branding content to post on LinkedIn. But like, I'm just curious, are like how important is video and what's your take?
Yeah, definitely a lot of importance there. We try to kind of include multimedia as often as possible, because newer generations, we know that, I mean, in general, people like to consume video. It's easier
Mhm.
just than reading long articles. So any collaborations with influencers, anything that can all help. And also authors, you mentioned like personas. So that has been clear. I mentioned, I think before I started recording, like the Google leak that happened a couple of years ago. There were strong indications that, like, that was the beginning of AI. If you don't have like a real person behind a piece of content, eventually you're get in trouble. So you need to
Mm,
find some way to have clear authorship. Those people have links to their social profiles, so it's all kind of connected.
mm,
And yeah, video content really useful. Sometimes we used to create like on the same topic a video and a blog topic for certain clients, because we knew that for that specific topic people used to consume a lot of video, and then you
mhm,
can get featured. It's really cool that Google kind of can get linked to a specific part of the video. If you have a good markup of the sections and everything, you can actually get into, people also ask sections with video, even like, and so on. So
mhm.
it's really useful, but it's not something you can use on every side, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Sticking on the AI side of things, and we're talking about, you mentioned keyword research is changing. Now we're getting into more topic clusters and ensuring that an entity is clear, or, if it's not an entity, I guess the difference between entity and having like a thought leader publish an article or, a piece of content. I'm curious in the franchise space, like how, like, I guess what's the role of entity clarity in making content legible and like able to be picked up by GEO or AIO?
Well, you always have to have like a clear entity. I think it helps like just if you listen as an author, a person who has been with the organization for a long time and posted on LinkedIn regarding the franchise development or in general, like what the franchise is about. If they post
Mm,
regularly, so those thought leaders, if you have them as authors on the website and it's kind of connected to them and they repost it on their social profiles, I think that's enough to kind of connect everything to have
mm,
some value from that. And also, as I mentioned, like as we work with kind of big brands, all of the associations, because of the domain rating and all the people involved, Google already knows all of the associations, but
mhm,
AI not so much. That's why we need like schema markup. Nowadays you can really go crazy with schema. You can list out all of the things necessary, but just covering the basics helps a lot. Like just what
mm.
the web page is about. If you have FAQ section, if you have an author, cover all that, and I think it's enough for AI to pick up. But sometimes they pick up one interesting thing I would like to share. So, AI
Yeah.
is hungry for citations, numbers. So if you ask the AI for like, okay, how much did this brand grow in 2025,
Mhm,
it will kind of try to find some number, and brands don't usually share that. So it was an
mhm,
interesting topic. Like we did a case study for one of our clients, and now if you ask like ChatGPT what was their growth in last year, it will cite every time our article, even though that was not
mm,
intended. But that's the only piece of information it can manage to grasp. So there's a lot of space here. I mean,
mm,
not to use this in a wrong way, but there's a lot of space for brands and for people like to provide some of their information just to help AI visibility. So if you share more about
mhm.
how your brand is doing and what they're working on and what are the plans or stuff like that, when people ask, that will all be kind of linked. Anything that has numbers on it, that's really, really useful. Like
Yeah,
percentages of growth and stuff like that.
yeah, and I feel like companies are a little bit apprehensive to put that out. Like you said, it's not generally public information unless there is an IPO and we have a public company now, like Walmart or McDonald's, right? But you're saying using numbers and stats, AI is and LLMs really look for that because like they're not opinion based and AI wants to
Yes.
be right. I mean, typically, like if you're not lying, obviously. So using more of that, but I can hear pushback from business owners saying like, I don't want to give away like my it's kind
Yes.
of like walking outside naked, right? I mean,
Yeah. But if,
everybody's
for
going to
example,
see my insides.
if you're a franchise and you want to attract more people to kind of
Mhm.
come under your umbrella, if you share
Yeah.
how much you have grown since last year, that's a valuable thing to share with AI. Maybe like somebody's
Yeah.
researching, they'll get that listed. So, of course, not to abuse this because it should
Yeah.
be grounded in truth. Because I don't know, sooner or later something will happen if the claim is not right. But I can say it can be useful definitely for some businesses.
As we wrap up the conversation, speaking of numbers, I'm curious with tricks clicks going down, however conversions are continuing to increase in the franchise world, what sort of KPIs are you looking at that are still important and which ones are, going to the wayside, I guess?
Yeah. So last year was really interesting. So no click searches and everything. So we had all of our like presentations to our clients like, look, clicks are going to get lower. And
Mhm.
in franchise space, you always compare year over year because of seasonality in most cases. So
Mhm.
year over year, clicks are going down. Impressions are the new kind of top level KPI. And then of course conversions and revenue. That's definitely, as I mentioned, like you need to watch about UX and conversions because if it's not converting, if you get vanity traffic, it just means nothing. So
Yeah.
it needs to kind of correlate with the increase. And then what happened in September is that Google disabled the parameter to see the rankings in the top 100 results. And in
Mhm.
some cases, it was a really dramatic drop in impressions. So we have an example, for example, hotel franchise. All of those keywords were really, really high competition. They were often checked by rank trackers, by a lot of
Mhm.
tools. And when that parameter was disabled, the
Mhm.
impressions dropped over 50%. And that was
Wow.
something that we did not expect. On some other clients, we didn't even really notice it. But
Hmm.
there it was a problem. Like, look, clicks are not the main KPI. Now impressions are. And then that happens and we were kind of lost. Like, this is really annoying. So we're going to kind of go back to clicks. But I mean, until next September, now the impressions are more precise. That's okay. But like, we have now to wait 9 months until we get good year-over-year data. That's annoying. So of course,
Mm.
like, focusing on revenue, conversions, conversion rate, that's something that we now focus mostly on.
Yeah, and obviously, like you mentioned, the bottom line is still revenue, obviously. But you're saying impressions are actually really important. And I think the change you're talking about is the ref. Is it ref 0 or like ref 100? Is that what you're
Yeah,
talking
it's,
about?
it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
basically, it used to show 100 results instead of just standard 10 results. And then you would get like information if you're ranking of position 50 something or
Hmm.
position 40 something, but it kind of inflated the number of impressions because of that.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, Marco, I want to continue this conversation, but where can the audience find you? Obviously we'll include your LinkedIn account, but where can they learn more about you?
Well, mostly LinkedIn. I don't really post often. We have a few case studies that we publish yearly. Sometimes we publish something that we are doing, but we are not too well. We're planning to change that. Like, we want to give out more because we really figure out that in franchise space, we rarely see anybody else sharing any new information. So definitely, we
Yeah.
have a couple of good guides. If somebody's interested on our website for everything that we're doing, everything that I have talked about, we have like in article format. But in social media, we just share results and like positive stories and stuff like that. But again,
Cool.
hopefully more to come.
Yeah. Thedigitalspice.com. Marco Arsic, thank you for being here. And I hope the audience reaches
Thank you.
out to you, particularly those in the franchise marketing space. It's great to have you.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you.